They say silence can scream louder than words. And I believe that now because that day, when my nephew looked at me, really looked at me, I heard everything I'd been trying to silence inside myself. It wasn't anything grand. No thunderstorm, no dramatic music playing in the background. It was just an ordinary afternoon. The kind that drags its feet and leaves you feeling invisible in your own home. I was folding laundry. That's it. Just folding laundry. My husband was gone again, some last-minute trip for work, or maybe just another excuse to disappear. I didn't even ask this time. I'd stopped asking a long time ago. You know that point in a marriage when silence isn't peace anymore, it's just space? That's where we were. A house filled with quiet routines and empty chairs. My sister had called earlier that morning. She needed someone to watch her son, Jordan, for the weekend. She sounded tired, overwhelmed. And of course, I said yes. I mean, how could I say no? Jordan was 19. Not a kid anymore, but still sweet. Thoughtful. That boy had always been more observant than most. He noticed the small things. The way people sighed. The way someone's smile didn't quite reach their eyes. He'd always had that kind of old soul energy. Made him feel safe to be around. But that afternoon, something shifted. It started with a glance. Just a glance. He was sitting at the edge of the couch, scrolling through his phone. I was across the room, folding towels. I looked up, and he was looking at me. Not in a strange way. Not inappropriate. But not casual either. It was like he saw through me. Like he saw everything I'd been hiding behind fake smiles and polite nods for years. And then he said it. Just one line. But it was enough to pull the breath right out of my lungs. He said, "You don't look happy." Not, "How are you?" Not, "Are you okay?" Just, "You don't look happy." And I froze. Because for the first time in a long time, I realized someone had actually noticed. I don't even know how long I stood there, holding that towel like it was the only thing tethering me to the floor. My mouth went dry. My heart started doing this weird fluttering thing, like it couldn't decide whether to speed up or shut down completely. I wanted to laugh it off, say something light, brush it aside. But nothing came out. Because he was right. I wasn't happy. And the scary part? I couldn't remember the last time I truly was. We didn't talk more after that. Not right away. He looked back at his phone. I turned back to my laundry. But the air had changed. The kind of change you don't see, but you feel deep in your chest. Heavy. Quiet. Charged. It wasn't just what he said. It was the fact that it came from him. My nephew. Someone I'd watched grow up. Someone I trusted. Someone who shouldn't have been the one to notice me, like that. But sometimes, the people who aren't supposed to see you are the ones who truly do. And once you've been seen, you can't unsee yourself either. That was the moment. The very first moment something cracked inside me. The first step on a path I never intended to walk, but somehow couldn't stop myself from following. And what happened next? Let's just say, it's the kind of thing that changes you. Quietly. Irreversibly. If you've ever made a choice in a moment of weakness, something you can't fully explain, not even to yourself, then maybe, just maybe, you'll understand what happened. Or maybe you'll judge me. I wouldn't blame you if you did. But either way, this is the truth. Subscribe to Heartfelt Tales Unfold to uncover stories that pull back the curtain on the parts of the human heart we don't talk about. Because the story? This one cuts deep. I'm 38, married for 12 years. You'd think by now I'd have answers to things like what love looks like when it grows older or how to keep warmth in a house that's gone cold. But the truth is, I don't. I used to be full of life. I laughed easily. I reached for things, dreams, people, moments. But over time, I became something else. I became a version of myself I didn't recognize. The kind that smiles out of habit, not happiness. The kind that cleans the same countertops twice just to avoid the quiet. My husband, Daniel, is a good man. At least, that's what people say when they don't live with him. He provides. He's responsible. He's distant. Sometimes I wonder if I'm still a wife, or just someone who shares a bed with a ghost. He leaves for work early, comes home late. He eats in silence. We barely touch. Conversations are short, predictable. How was your day? Fine. Dinner's ready. Thanks. And then the television fills the silence between us. There was a time when family meant comfort. Now, it just feels like duty. Something you show up for, not something that fills you. My sister, Laura, drops by now and then. She talks too fast, always juggling a million things. Her life is chaos, but somehow she thrives in it. Jordan is her son, 19 years old. A good kid. Tall, quiet, always polite. He watches everything. The kind of quiet that isn't shy, just observant. He's stayed over a few times before. Sometimes when Laura's out of town, sometimes when he just needs a break. He always offers to help. Carries the groceries in, takes the trash out without being asked. And he listens, really listens, even when you think he isn't. It wasn't like I was unhappy. Just invisible. That kind of invisibility that creeps in slowly, like fog. You don't even notice it at first. But one day you look around and realize no one sees you, not really. Jordan, he noticed. He wasn't a boy anymore, but he wasn't fully a man either. His voice had settled, deeper now. His shoulders had filled out. He moved with this quiet confidence, like someone who didn't need to be loud to be present. And sometimes I'd catch him looking at me. Not in a disrespectful way. Just looking. Like he was trying to understand something. Like he saw something I didn't know I was showing. And I'd pretend I didn't notice. Because that was easier than asking myself why it made me feel something. It's strange how attention, genuine, undemanding attention, can stir things in you that you thought had gone numb. I didn't think too much of it at first. A few glances. A few longer conversations while we washed dishes together. He'd ask about my garden, about books I used to love. He remembered things I'd forgotten about myself. And it wasn't until that afternoon, when he said what he said, that I realized just how long I'd been starving for that kind of presence. But even then, I told myself it was nothing. Just a sweet boy, saying something kind. I should have known better. Because when someone sees you, really sees you, it's hard not to reach back. Even if you shouldn't. Even if everything inside you says don't. But sometimes, the heart hears a different voice. And it whispers louder than reason. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed with the covers pulled high, staring at the ceiling, listening to the soft tick of the wall clock. Daniel was out of town again. I didn't even remember where this time. Somewhere for a seminar, or maybe just a meeting that would end late enough to keep him from calling. The room felt colder than usual. Or maybe it was me. I kept replaying Jordan's words in my head. I think I can make you feel something again. I tried to tell myself it was nothing. Just a silly comment. A moment of teenage curiosity. Hormones. Youthful boldness. That's all. But something about the way he said it, it wasn't impulsive. It was quiet. Intentional. Like he'd thought about it. Like it had been sitting on the edge of his tongue for a while, waiting for the right moment. I shifted under the sheets, frustrated with myself for even thinking about it this much. For giving it space in my head. In my chest. I told myself it was just a passing moment. He was young. I was older. Married. This was just noise. It didn't mean anything. But then the silence answered back. Because deep down I knew it did mean something. Not because of what he said, but because of how it made me feel. There was a time Daniel would touch my lower back while I cooked. Whisper something silly in my ear. Brush my hair aside and kiss my neck even when I was mid-sentence. There was a time my body felt seen. Desired. Soft, yes, but powerful. Magnetic. Now it felt more like background. Like wallpaper. Something that just existed in the room. I don't remember the last time Daniel complimented me without it being tied to something I wore, or how I handled a situation with his parents, or how well I cooked dinner that night. But Jordan saw something I didn't know was still there. And that's what haunted me. Part of me was flattered. And I hated that. I hated how quickly that little flicker of attention started to warm the parts of me I'd buried under routine, under motherhood, under years of not being asked how I felt. I kept turning it over in my mind, looking for a way to feel clean again. But the truth wouldn't budge. It sat there, heavy, unavoidable. How do you draw the line when your own heart doesn't know which side it's on? It wasn't about lust. It wasn't about him, even. It was about being noticed, being looked at and not looked through, being asked something real in a house that ran on silence. I told myself it didn't matter, that it was over. Just a strange moment. A strange day. I thought I could ignore it. But the next day changed everything. The morning felt normal. Almost. I made coffee. He was already up, sitting at the kitchen table, sketching. He always brought that little pad with him. Said it helped him think. I asked if he slept okay. He nodded. Said the guest room was fine. But there was something in his eyes. Something unreadable. I didn't ask more. Later that afternoon, I ran out to the store. Just a quick errand, eggs, milk, some fruit. When I got back, he was already at the door, offering to help with the bags. I handed him a few, and when our fingers touched, he didn't let go right away. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't accidental. His hand lingered just a second too long. Long enough for me to feel it. Long enough for him to know I did. I didn't say a word. That evening, it rained. The kind of slow, steady rain that makes the world feel far away. We ended up on the couch, half watching something on TV. Some old comedy playing in the background. I don't even remember the name, but we weren't really watching it. He was sitting close. Closer than he needed to be. Our elbows touched. And neither of us moved away. I talked about the movie, some dumb joke that didn't land. And I caught him looking, not at the screen, not at my eyes, at my mouth. And then he said, in the quietest voice, "You don't have to pretend with me." I felt like the air had been knocked out of me, because it wasn't the words, it was how true they felt. He knew. He knew I was starved for attention, that I'd been surviving on scraps of affection for years. And I hated how right he was. I got up to grab more tea. My hands were trembling. I hoped he didn't notice. But deep down, I wanted him to. I wanted someone to see how shaken I was. The next few hours passed in a strange kind of blur. We didn't talk much. But the silence between us felt different now. Not empty. Tense. Like it was waiting for something to happen. Later that night, I walked into the hallway to turn off the lights. He was standing there. I didn't hear him approach. Just turned, and he was there. Close. We stood still. No words. Then he reached up, slowly, and brushed my hair from my face. His hand was warm. Gentle. Too gentle. And I didn't stop him. I should have. But I didn't. My heart was pounding so loud I thought he could hear it. Then he leaned in close enough that I felt his breath on my cheek and whispered what he wanted. Just a few words. Soft. Certain. And I just stood there. It was just past midnight. The house had settled into that deep, delicate stillness. The kind where even the hum of the refrigerator feels loud. I couldn't sleep again. My mind wouldn't let me. I told myself I just needed water. A reason to move. A reason not to stay in that cold bed alone. I walked barefoot down the hallway, trying not to make a sound. And as I passed the living room, I saw a light soft, golden, coming from the corner lamp. He was there, sitting cross-legged on the couch, shirtless, his sketchpad resting on his lap, head bent low, completely lost in what he was drawing. I was about to walk past, pretend I hadn't seen, but something stopped me. Some instinct, some pull, and then I realized. He was sketching me, from memory, the same robe I wore that morning. The curve of my arm as I reached for the cupboard. The slight tilt of my neck, as if listening for something that would never come. It was me. but not the version I saw in the mirror. Not tired. Not faded. I looked raw. Unfiltered. Real. I stepped into the room. Slowly. Quietly. He didn't flinch. Didn't hide it. He just looked up, like he knew I'd come. I asked him why. His answer was simple. Steady. He said, it calms me. And it helps me see beauty. I stood there, caught between shame and something I didn't want to name. I should have been angry. Should have demanded he stop. But I didn't. He held the sketch out for me to see. No hesitation. No fear. And when I looked at it, really looked at it, I saw myself through his eyes. Not through years of wear. Not through rejection or neglect. But through admiration. Like I was something worth noticing. Worth remembering. I don't know what came over me. I sat down beside him. My hand reached for his without thinking. Maybe to thank him. Maybe to make it real. His fingers curled around mine. And in that silence, with the sketch between us, he leaned in. Slowly, cautiously, as if giving me every second to pull away. I didn't. The moment stretched, suspended, held there, like a breath we both forgot to exhale. And then I kissed him. Not deeply, not hungrily, just enough. Enough to say I feel it too. And then I pulled away. The weight of it all came crashing in. The reality, the wrongness, the ache, the guilt, the shame. I looked at him, his face stunned, searching mine for something I didn't have words for. He didn't speak. He just stared at me, like I'd become something sacred. Or something broken. The next morning, the house was quiet again, but in a different way. Not peaceful. Not calm. Just heavy. I stayed in my room longer than usual. Pretended to sleep. Pretended I had somewhere to be in my own head. I didn't want to see him. I didn't want to face what I'd done. What we did. What I let happen. When I finally came out, he was in the kitchen. Making toast. The sketch pad was gone. His back was to me, but I could feel him waiting. Listening for my footsteps. He turned when I reached the fridge, and for a second, our eyes met. He opened his mouth to say something, anything, but I looked away. Quick. Sharp. Like the look alone had burned me. I muttered something about needing to take a shower. Walked past him. Didn't wait for a response. All day, I kept moving. Folding, cleaning, wiping down already clean surfaces. I couldn't sit still. Couldn't stop long enough to feel what was sitting inside me. He tried again, just once. Came to the hallway as I was carrying laundry. He said, "Can we talk?" And I said, "Not now. Not now. Not ever." Later that evening, my phone buzzed. It was Daniel. "I'm heading back tonight. Should be home around 9. He wasn't supposed to be back until the next day. I don't know if I felt relief or panic. Maybe both. I told Jordan after dinner. I kept my voice calm, steady. I said, "Daniel's coming home tonight." Just that. He didn't respond. Just nodded once. His jaw tightened. His eyes fell to the floor. An hour later, he came down the stairs with his bag. Said he was heading out. I asked where he was going. He said home. I didn't ask anything else. I didn't stop him. He didn't hug me goodbye. Didn't say thank you. He just looked at me one last time. And in that look, there was everything we hadn't said. Everything I didn't have the courage to face. There was hurt. There was disappointment. There was something else, too, something quieter. Like he wanted to believe I had meant it. And maybe part of me had. But I couldn't show it. Not then. Maybe not ever. I told Laura he was fine. Just tired. Wanted to sleep in his own bed. She didn't question it. But his eyes, when he left, they held so much. Since then, I've been different. I overcompensate with Daniel. I laugh too hard at jokes that aren't funny. I make elaborate dinners he doesn't ask for. I initiate conversations, touch his arm in the hallway like I used to when we first met. He doesn't seem to notice. Or maybe he does, and he doesn't want to ask why. I'm more careful now. More rehearsed. But inside, I'm somewhere else entirely. I question everything now. Every pause, every breath, every choice that led to that moment. Was it emotional hunger? Or was it selfishness disguised as loneliness? I replay it in my mind, not to relive it, but to make sense of it. As if I could find one clean corner in a situation that was never meant to be anything but messy. Did I ruin him? Did I take something from him that he'll never get back? Or did he see something in me I had buried so deep, I forgot it was ever there? I've started writing again. Not stories, not full thoughts, just little pieces. Sentences I scribble in the margins of notebooks or type out in blank emails I'll never send. Sometimes I write to him. Letters I never sign. Words I never intend for him to read. I tell him I'm sorry. And then I tell him I'm not sure I am. I tell him it wasn't about him. But then I admit it was. It was about being seen. And about wanting to be chosen. Even just once. Even by the wrong person in the wrong moment. Sometimes I wonder if he'll ever talk about it. If he'll tell someone, his mother, a friend, a lover years from now. Maybe he'll describe me as the woman who crossed a line. Or maybe he won't mention it at all. Maybe it will sit in him the way it sits in me. Quiet. Messy. Human. Maybe he hates me now. Or maybe, just maybe, he remembers it the same way I do. As something that wasn't right, but wasn't simple either. A flicker of connection where none should have been. And maybe, some things are meant to remain unsaid. Not because they don't matter, but because they mattered too much. Have you ever been in a moment, one you didn't plan, but couldn't stop either? A moment where everything right and everything wrong blurred together, and for a heartbeat, you forgot what you were supposed to be, because for once, you just felt alive? Was I wrong for letting that happen? Or was I just human? I ask myself that more than I should. I look back, not for answers, but to see if maybe, somewhere in the middle of it all, I was still me. Tell me in the comments. Was this betrayal? Or was it just a moment? A moment of two aching souls colliding in the wrong time, in the wrong space, but maybe, just maybe, for the right reason? If stories like this stir your heart, if they leave you questioning your own truths, your own quiet regrets, like this video, and subscribe to Heartfelt Tales Unfold. Because here, we don't just tell stories. We unravel the parts of you no one sees. Some moments don't die when they end. They live on, in glances you try to forget, in dreams you don't talk about, in the quiet guilt that lingers long after the world has moved on. Some moments live on in the spaces between breaths. They don't scream. They whisper. And sometimes, they echo louder than anything else in your life. This story isn't about guilt. It's not even about desire. It's about being seen, really seen, when you've spent years fading. It's about being chosen when you've stopped expecting anyone to reach for you. It's about feeling alive, even if it was just for a moment. But moments like that, they come with a cost. Because not every feeling is meant to be touched. Some are meant to pass through you like a ghost. A shadow. A breath you hold and never release. And once you cross that line, even just once, nothing is ever untouched again.